Hello and welcome back to On the House. Today we have Julius Göllner, a serial entrepreneur who's founded 16 companies, exited two, and he's now helping the SaaS community in Europe. Um, he began his career at McKinsey before moving on to various roles in retail. And since 2014, Julius has co-founded multiple companies: F&P Stock Solution, MOODJA, eNugget Ventures, and he's also been an active advisor and investor to dozens of tech and SaaS startups. And more recently, become best known for ARRtist, which includes Artist Summit, Artist Circus, Europe's leading gatherings for SaaS founders, revenue leaders, and investors. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome, Julius. Welcome. Um, your journey began at McKinsey. What was it like there? What did you do, and why did you decide to leave consulting?
Thanks a lot, Joe, for this great introduction. I see I'm quite a bit old already, it seems. So many things happened already. Yeah, I mean, when I was studying, I did economics and business administration. There were, I think, three ways to go if you have been ambitious. It was iBanking, investment banking, a corporate career in Germany, like at the Volkswagens, or a management consulting. And I decided at these days for management consulting. I did an internship at McKinsey, and they offered me a contract afterwards. So went there after my university and mainly consulted banks and insurance companies. Top level management consulting. Learned a lot. Very hard days and weeks, many hours, but I think very great learning curve. But I think I was also happy then when I left. I think there are like few people who can do this for their whole life. I'm definitely not.
Wow. So, would you say you learned a lot of lessons from there that helped, like in entrepreneurship, and then obviously that's one question, and then obviously after McKinsey, you joined Zalando, which is obviously retail, and stayed there for a few years.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and why did you decide to go into retail?
So I think what I learned at McKinsey was not so much the entrepreneurial stuff, Joe. What I learned there was mainly interacting with top level decision makers, so C level in big corporates, structuring myself, making nice slides and presentations, problem identification. So a lot of, I think, great soft skills. And then the Zalando founders, they really kept acquiring me. They were targeting me for 6 months. I said, no, it's my first job. I cannot leave McKinsey. No, no, no. And it was just an opportunity to be honest. I didn't have any touch points with retail before, but it was e-commerce, fashion industry, a very new thing going on, and Berlin. And in these days, also like a high ratio of young, motivated people. So I said like, hey, at Christmas, I sat at home and said like, hey, why not doing it? Let's try. If it goes against the walls and goes bankrupt in 6 months, I can always go back. Yeah. And this was the reason I decided to go to Zalando, where, to be very honest, I got my entrepreneurial education. So it was crazy speed, crazy responsibility, crazy opportunity, crazy growth. So this was really where I was allowed to learn entrepreneurship.
Awesome. And so, did you jump into the retail world because of the wave, or was there like something inside of you which was like felt quite connected to that space as well?
Um, no, I have to say these days it was even in the early days of e-commerce. Yeah, so when I was at McKinsey, my further project managers said like, okay, this will never work. Yeah, selling shoes online, what a crazy shitty idea. Yeah, you're doing the worst decision of your life. And then 2 years later, we hired the bosses of my boss at Zalando for department managers. Yeah. So I think it was like the technology. I was very curious about the technology. It was something new. I was very inspired by the people, to be very honest. Like the founders of Zalando, I talked to during this 6 months of talks. Was really cool. I had one friend I was living together at this time who also worked at Zalando already. Um, and yeah, I think also the responsibility. So my first position at Zalando was already a management position. It was operations, like production and logistics for the Zalando lounge, which was at these days a position with 20 people to lead already. And this was like 1 year after university, also kind of a very big challenge for me. But I already liked during my university times in some roles. So yeah, it was. I was curious, and the industry, to be very honest, was not super important for me. Yeah, like I didn't have any touch points. I didn't have any experience in retail. Was more like the technology and the people.
Awesome. And so you're there for a few years, and then I think it's around 2014 time you started up a few different businesses. So F&P, one overstocks for shoes and fashion, MOODJA with more e-commerce, and then obviously eNugget Ventures. And can you talk us through how all of these came about? I imagine the F&P stock kind of transitioned from Zalando, but how did all of these businesses come about, and how did you find running three businesses at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, Zalando changed, of course, over time from a very fast speedboat, super high growth to a more corporate company. I think when I left, there were already have been 8,000 people, 600 in my pyramid I was leaving. So, and you felt also the change in processes and like the speed of working and also how political it became. And I recognize that I'm more like, I think, the hands-on creative person who really likes to build. So at Zalando at these days, I also was leading and managing the overstock department. So at the end of the value chain, there was a B2B department at Zalando where we sold goods B2B. I was building this. I was designing it from the scratch. So when I decided to leave Zalando, which was at the IPO times, it was clear I wanted to do something for myself, and I saw that there is an opportunity in the market for a professional service provider doing exactly this, helping retailers and brands getting rid of their overstocks and customer returns they cannot use anymore. So this was the reason we started F&P Stock Solution at these days, serving, of course, a lot of companies, but also Zalando. And from there onwards, I think I already always saw like opportunities. So yeah, in the early days of e-commerce, brands had a lot of problems with B2C logistics and connecting to these big platforms like Zalando or Zappos. So we said, like, hey, why not building a provider who has the tech ability, but also the process abilities? So we built MOODJA, which is one of the first fulfillment companies. Yeah, and then I was like not always starting at the same time. So usually when we started a new company, the previous ones have been already gotten product market fit. There was a second level management. So there was a good structure, a stable structure that we could have done something new. Yeah, and then like on the way, on the last 10, 11, 12 years, I always saw some nice opportunities, interesting stuff, got cool co-founders in, and then here and there we started new things, and we are still doing it, yeah? So the last two things we started is a sales as a service outbound company again, and we are right now starting like a geo agency, like an agency which helps companies getting visible at LLMs. So yeah, we take a look on the market. We see something curious. We are curious. We see value pools, and then we are going on it.
That's interesting. One of the things that's coming out from yourself is like looking at like what's the hot wave right now. Like obviously AI being the hot wave, but at the time, obviously e-commerce, fashion, and all that stuff. So obviously F&P was your like first
Yeah.
go. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. You might have done stuff before, and I might not have picked up on it. But F&P was your first kind of like entrepreneur, and you obviously say you helped Zalando there. What was your way to actually grow that business? Was it existing contacts in Zalando and they would kind of help you, or did you have to go out and network with new people? How did you grow that business?
Yeah, I think this is a mixture, Joe. So, of course, the industry knowledge I learned at Zalando times helped me a lot. Yeah, so I had a very clear understanding how this overstock market and fashion is working, how the goods flow through the world, like from Central Europe to Eastern Europe to Northern Africa. So I get a very deep domain expertise. Of course, I also had very valuable contacts during my Zalando times for this on the supply side. And I learned a lot of stuff at Zalando, which was helpful, like negotiating deals in B2B, yeah, finding clients in B2B. We needed to do this at Zalando as well. So this I think was like the skill set and knowledge I gathered. But of course, then we bootstrapped the company. We started super small, like 2 people, a small warehouse. We had supply from like 2 or 3 suppliers, and then was like, okay, we need clients. So we went on the plane. We flew to markets in Eastern Europe where we thought we could acquire clients. We rented a car, and then we just drove through the cities and went into shops and like, hey, we have great stuff, branded stuff from Central Europe for very attractive prices. Do you maybe want to buy? So this was like the Indiana Jones times. So yeah, acquiring new clients, acquiring the first people working for us, designing logistic processes that was kind of new. And we learned on the go, yeah. So it's learning by doing, planning something, measuring it. If it's not going well, iterating fast. So we grew the company, I think in best times up to 70 people, bootstrapped. So yeah, it was a big adventure.
Wow, that's really interesting that, you were going to places where maybe they weren't selling this stuff or it just wasn't really a market there, and you used the overstocks to go there and land new people. So that sounds, yeah, really like a good strategy. And then obviously throughout all of this time as well, you've been advising and investing in various startups. So are there any startup stories that stand out to you, like in particular of how you help them grow, or any success stories? And my second question would be, what separates the winners from the losers?
Ooh, evening filling topic, Joe. Um, so yeah, I mean, my investment journey, of course, started at D2C, to be honest, because I had the experience from Zalando times. So the first 2-3 years after Zalando, I did some particular single investments in e-commerce and direct-to-consumer brands. Not very structured, not very organized, but I wanted to learn a little bit as an angel, so I did this, and it was a good time. Then the more I went into B2B and into SaaS, like after like a couple of years, of course I did direct to consumer and B2B SaaS. And then I said, okay, this is not working. Yeah, you cannot have domain experience in almost everything. So I really did a strong cut. I did a very, very clear focus on B2B SaaS, and since 6 years investing only in B2B software companies, B2B software and AI. And yeah, I mean, like I'm always trying to get in as early as possible. So I'm always helping from ideation to product market fit. And product market fit is it's not a very clear noun, but I'm saying like, okay, until Series A. So from 0 to 2 million in revenues, this is where I can really help a lot in go to market, in sales, in strategy, in product. And this is where I like to help the teams. If they want it. Yeah, some teams do not want, but and of course success stories. I think the recent one is Paloa. They became a unicorn like a couple of months ago. It's one of my earliest investments where I went in very, very early. I think another one is Gigs.tel. Very under the radar, but a great company. They're building like the Stripe for telco. I was also like the first angel there investing on a deck. Let's see where this goes. Yeah. So I think these are 2 like success stories which can become out well. What differentiates the winners from the losers is a very difficult question. So I think there's a lot of external factors you cannot control in venture and in company building. Yeah. So this needs to be mentioned. So there is no clear rule, but you can of course improve statistics. And at the stage where I'm investing, I would say 70 to 80% is team. So investing in the right people makes a very big difference if you invest super early stage with a high risk profile.
That's really interesting. So do you think it's with 78% in team, do you think it's a culture thing? Do you think it's like having the right ratio of seniors to juniors? Like how do you get team right?
Yeah. So there are different dimensions I'd, as an investor, take a look on. First one is, does the team has an affiliation or like a connection to the problem they are solving? Doesn't mean they need to be in an industry for 15 years. It could also mean that the parents had a connection to this problem. They worked in a restaurant during university times, but they need to have problem expertise. Yeah, so they need to understand what they're doing. Then, of course, it helps if you also have kind of industry or domain experience, but it's not 100% necessary. So understanding the customers and industries you want to build a venture in helps a lot. So this are two things. Third thing is coachability. So if you want to really build a venture case, you need to be coachable, because in many cases you're not the smartest in the room. Yeah, your customers are usually way smarter than you. Your investors are way smarter than you because they're doing this for many years. Probably if you hire the right people, seniors, they will be smarter. So you need to be open for input. You need to be coachable. You need to adapt your own behavior, and of course you also need to have a very structured way of working, building hypothesis, testing hypothesis, adapting your behavior or actions very, very fast. The people who can do this, who have the courage to build hypotheses and execute them, and then also have the intelligence to measure and adapt, they are very strong founders because they act super, super fast. Yeah, and they start fast, but they also adapt fast, which usually like multiplies output a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember I spoke to Max Greenwald, and he had a framework on having like an open and close. So having a period of, say, a week where you'd come up with as many ideas as possible for your new startup, and then after that week you could pick one, and then for a month after that you can only execute on that one and see how you get on, and then you can repeat these cycles basically. But it's this testing one idea at a time and then going back to open and then close. And um so so one of the things that really interested, obviously looking at your background, is retail, e-commerce, B2B SaaS. You decided to go fully into B2B SaaS on the venture side. Where do you see B2B SaaS going? Will it just become, will the kind of industry die or evolve into AI enabled like companies, even though it's still SaaS? But will SaaS still be a thing? And where do you see like the opportunities of the future?
Yeah. I think this is a very great question, Joe, and it's a question of definition. Yeah. So in general, if you take SaaS as it is, it's like software as a service. Yeah. So you provide something which is managed by a third party and it's used on a constant basis. So it's more like a subscription model, and taking the AI hype into account, from my perspective, this will not change, because even if you build an AI native company, let's say ChatGPT, people will use you on a constant basis and they will pay you on a constant basis. Probably the pricing structure will change. So from like seat based to maybe outcome based, maybe usage based. So there are different things, but this is also what we have seen over the last 20 years in SaaS. Yeah, always new things coming up. So I think it's more like a question of definition. Yeah, I think it will not change. AI is an enabling technology which will change how we build products. Yes. It will also probably have an influence how we distribute these products. Yes, but in general, software will be used from third parties on a constant basis. So, nevertheless, of course, this disruption comes with a lot of opportunity. Yeah, it never have been easier to build a tech product. And it was also never less expensive or cheap to build a product, which gives a lot of people access without venture capital to build MVPs, to build like cool software products. And this is something which disrupts the market significantly, because the whole venture game, from investors for pre-seed, investors for seed, investors for Series A, is really shaken. Yeah, so it's easier to access, and it's also easier to become cash flow and profitable very, very fast. So we call it like seed strapping. You maybe take on a little bit of money from angels or a pre-seed investor, and then after that, no money is needed anymore. Yeah? So I think this is something what we see, which is first of all good. What we also see is, because product is so cheap, or my assumption is because product becomes quite cheap in building, distribution and go-to-market will be the game changer. Yeah, so it's where the game will be divided. And there, of course, you have big distribution platforms like a Google, a Salesforce, a HubSpot. So, and they will probably leverage their existing distribution power quite a lot and become even more stronger. This could become a big problem, I guess. And for all the others, you need to find your niches. You need to maybe adapt and go for new distribution platforms like we discussed, like Geo, like Visibility and LM. This will be a powerful play for the next 1 to 2 years until competition will lead to saturation. But there is opportunity out there. You just need to, I think, count on the right channels.
Wow, distribution being one of those things where, like you say, if everyone can build a SaaS, then how do you just, yeah, distributing it to the right people and being the, you've got demand generation, which is people aren't in market right now, but you're top of mind for when they do, and it's just showing up everywhere and having better content. But do you think if you were a founder today and you were starting
Mhm.
out, would you go into SaaS, or would you try and find, or do you think that there's a different wave to ride, like maybe um, it's kind of more like hardware technology or applying AI to science, or what would you do now if you were starting again?
I think there are very great ideas and opportunities everywhere, Joe. Yeah. So I think it depends really on your domain expert. I think there's crazy opportunities in connecting AI capabilities to hardware devices. Yeah. There are super cool things going on in carbon capturing. So there are cool things going on in food. So follow your passion would be my first advice. Yeah. You should not go to an industry because the industry is cool or hyped. If you do what you're passionate about, if it's a hardware, a software, or a product or a bakery, I think financial success, will be in many cases the logical consequence. Yeah. So, of course, if you ask me, I think investments for building a hardware product and the time to markets are, of course, way, way longer. Regulation, R&D, production. So it's a tougher game. You probably need more money for it. I think if you ask me what I would recommend my daughters if they're 10 years older, I would definitely say, like, get the skills to become successful in software, and build a software product. There are so many cool things you can do now. So I would double down on SaaS/AI native software products.
I love that. I also love your advice on follow your passion, because you hear a lot about Alex Hormozy, which is just grind, and I don't know about yourself, but I have done that long enough now that I know that there's burnout at the end of, and you don't burn out if you're passionate about what you do, and so it's just such an important point. I don't think people, there's like two sides, and they're fight, follow your passion or just grind. So,
I
um,
mean, I
but
think
yeah, so, sorry,
sorry, Joe.
yeah.
No, so maybe because it's a super cool point, Joe. I think it's a mixture of both. Yeah, like I think just to be passionate is also not enough. Of course, you need to grind, you need to work hard, you need to like go the extra mile. But I think if you take a look on my CV, a corporate HR person would say, like, what the fuck was this guy doing? Yeah, like, did consulting, then e-commerce, then a B2B overstocks company. Now he's in B2B software. So he was like, but I always, like, I always followed my passion. I was curious. I liked the people. I was inspired. So I said, like, okay, what could go wrong? And I always followed this kind of inner feeling, maybe very early in my life. And to be honest, result is one thing, but I like the process. Yeah. So if you enjoy the process of doing this, you learn every day. You speak with inspiring people like you today. You have good touch points, and this is what, like, makes life interesting and valuable to live. Not that there maybe is an exit in 15 years where you get a lot of money. If you didn't enjoy the ride, you spend 15 years of your life in pain. I think you should really think about this twice.
Yeah, you said it. It's about enjoying. It's about being able to enjoy the journey, and it's not about the outcome. And if you're following your passion, then you can enjoy the journey. But so yeah, so moving on then to ARRtist. So you co-founded ARRtist. We've got ARRtist Summit on one hand, ARRtist Circus on another. Can you just walk us through each of these businesses individually, and why they exist, and are they separate businesses, or are they kind of sisters? Yeah, how does
Yeah.
that work?
So, ARRtist Summit, we started 4 years ago, and it was like the demand out of my conversations I had with founders from my own portfolio and other software founders. So they had similar problems according to their stage, and we had a lot of founders here in the DACH ecosystem who solved these problems, but people were not talking to each other. So there was no kind of structural ecosystem helping each other. And we said, like, hey, let's change this. And at this time, my two co-founders, they had an event company before, where I was invested as an angel. We sold it to Infront, was an exit. So they didn't have a clue about software, but event. I didn't have a clue about event, but a little bit about software. It's like, hey, let's let's build something on the side, like a conference or like a meeting point for investors and good founders and C-levels. And this is like the summit concept is decision makers only, very curated and small, couple of partners, but it's really like learning, masterclasses, roundtables, and connections. We build like a podcast, we build like some local meetings. So, but we are trying to create an ecosystem which helps. And the Circus is a spin-off out of this. We did it 2 times this year and last year. Probably next year we will pause because our co-founder there, he has some other challenges to face right now. So we think about, okay, not doing it next year. But this is like really directed to go-to-market teams. It's super fun. People come in costumes. It's about learning. So the go-to-market leader comes with the whole team. It's a lot of energy. We started with a morning rave at 9, and the party usually goes on until 6 next morning. So really Berlin. So it's more like a mix of learning, exchange, but also a lot of fun competition and other components. So yeah, different crowd, different ICP, different personas, but of course, both like very close to the software industry.
Yeah, I love the idea behind Circus as well, because it's very much like Purple Cow. Like I remember seeing everyone on LinkedIn like at this rave. I think, why are people dancing? And it's stood out like nothing else. Everyone looked like they're having a great time, and it is a parallel, which is B2B marketing doesn't need to be boring. It doesn't need to be like, you're on
Yes.
LinkedIn and boring videos. It can be fun and get everyone's guards down, and that's where like the magic happens. And I saw ARRtist Circus, and I think a couple of months later I saw your name, and it was in the brain, it was burned in. So it's just such a good idea. Um, yeah. How did the event go down? Were you pleased with it?
So we need to, of course, separate it from both of them, Jonah. So
Yeah.
ARRtist Circus, second year to first year, I think grew in 35% in visitors, 120% in revenue by partners. So all in all, like very good development, but it's an event business. So it's really also a lot of hours and a lot of details and also a lot of B2B sales because you really need to acquire teams. So the structure was like it was the 3 founders of ARRtist Summit, and then we got a 4th founder slash CEO in who was the managing director for the Circus spinoff. So the 4 of us did it together, but we had there was one person, Dominic, very great guy who were running it, and for the summit, it also have been. I think we found a very blank spot, Joella. So. We always keep it on 500 founders, C-levels, 125 investors. So it's like a little bit like the SaaS Davos, yeah? Very hard to access, but very small and curated. So on the ticketing revenues, it stays quite stable. What we saw over the last 3 years, that the partner revenues increased significantly. So we have partners like Google, McKinsey, like SAP, so all the big brands usually are there because for them, of course, the target group of founders and top-level decision makers of all stages is super interesting. Yeah, like also a lot of neobanks are there, a lot of cloud providers. AWS is one of our main sponsors. So the big brands, which of course in the first year was not the case because everyone's like, okay, let's see what the guys are doing there. And then from the second year on, we saw a big uplift in partnerships.
Wow.
But still,
Second. Yeah. Sorry, Julius.
I just wanted to add. Still, it's if you really want to earn a lot of money with event, you need to build a big event, Joe. Yeah? So you need to build like OMR or something. So I think the value for us as founders comes out of the network mainly. So it pays the bills, yeah, no question, and it pays the team, a small team. But if you really want to scale, you want to build top line growth, then you need to scale the event every year, which at ARRtist Summit is contradictory to our hard door because it's founders only. So we need to open it to SDRs, to AEs then. So there are more salespeople. So conversation becomes more salesy. Right now, it's like no media allowed, only founders. They all leave their pants down. And it's a very open exchange, yeah? And good learning. So the value is in the network.
It's incredible, isn't it? Because it's the benefit you think, or the benefit of business is revenue and profit and stuff. But it's very similar to a podcast, with a podcast, you might say someone's starting a podcast. Well, how am I going to start a podcast? Well, it's like, well, if you could put it on YouTube, you're not going to have any subscribers. But if you've got a few LinkedIn followers, you can promote people and you can chop it into, put it on LinkedIn. You helping the guest by sharing their stuff. As an interviewer, it's quite like as a selfish benefit. You get to learn from people that otherwise you might not have had access to. Like yourself, I'm learning so much, and then I get to share that. So there's all these other and there's
Yeah.
authority, which is like with marketing, it's not just about how many conversions did this post get you. It's about, okay, did we create that parent-child relationships that when someone has a problem, they look up to you as the person that can solve their problems. And it is great authority content because you're working with all these amazing people. And so it's just like there are all these side benefits that
Yes.
help with other aspects. And it's the same with yourself. But what amazes me is second year with Circus, and you've already just smashed it out of the park. What was your secret to growing it and getting people to come?
I think for the Circus, Joe, as you said, like it was a good timing. Also, there were the visual LLMs coming out, so the idea I had in my mind to build like the non-typical sales conference where like white old guys in suits are drinking beer. I had it in my mind for very long, yeah, and then
Yeah.
mid journey came out and it was like, okay, let's build a new fresh topic, and then I think Carolina girls are like, hey, I really like your way of a festival. I always call it like the Tomorrowland for sales. And it's like, let's think about why not doing this with a circus theme. And I was like, okay, a circus theme is also great because a circus is also just working with many people cooperating. So we put it to Midjourney, and then the whole thing, like the whole thing really got visualized. So the speakers, they had circus costumes on LinkedIn. So of course the initial awareness got crazy. Yeah, like what are these? They're building a B2B education conference, but it looks more like a festival and a circus. So I think this, of course, was for the first year like a big driver of awareness, though. And then I think for the second year was like high quality content still at the event, and then all the side components I mentioned. Yeah, so we build a boiler room at the conference, which opened like at midnight at the first year. So people needed to go through the kitchen where the food was prepared to a secret room. We didn't announce it, and then from 12 to 4 there was not a single more person in this room. It was like sweating. So like people had this what the fuck is happening here experience. We are on a business conference, and of course this helped the mixture of great quality content and like this things which work different than somewhere else helped for the second year, of course.
Wow. And you raised an amazing point, which is not only is it Purple Cow and it's different, but with content, every time you think about a business, you think, will this content engage people? And it's like I used to run a web design business, and websites, you can make a lovely website, but it's just a website. But when you make video or something like that, people just love video. It's emotional. People buy on emotion. You can convey value. It can be funny. You can get every type of value there is in a video. And so it's like with yourself, it's great content as well, like being in a like to help them promote in future years. So wow. So obviously want to get you back for your daughter's birthday celebration. So we'll just move on to the next question. So you're closely connected with a lot of founders and SaaS businesses in Europe. You've mentioned that this like the network of these things is really important to you. What challenges are you seeing founders and businesses facing right now?
I think we are coming from a period, Joe, where capital was super cheap. So the last 2 years became capital efficient. So yeah, capital efficiency was the I think the main topic of the last 2 years. I think now we see a lot of uncertainty regarding AI. Yeah, so everyone understands that it's a great opportunity. But it comes with a lot of shifts, like we discussed before. It comes with a shift in distribution. It comes in a shift in how we develop products. It also comes in additional options and opportunities how to structure my own go-to-market. So we see a lot of insecurity, like what to do, what's the right thing to do right now. So I think the biggest challenge right now is really navigating in this super fast-paced environment where every week with every new release we have new options on the table, and I think this is not so easy to prioritize, yeah? Like what to build in my product next, what is defensible, what's not defensible, how to adapt my go-to-market. Yeah, is it really so easy, like we see on LinkedIn every day, that I can build a 65-step automation with N8N and ChatGPT, and then my product sells alone? I'm not sure, yeah. But if you if you take a look on LinkedIn, you could think it is as easy. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. There is big opportunities and capabilities, but how to use them, I think this is what we were also discussing on ARRtist Summit in October quite a lot, and where we get insights from the latest founders. But this brings insecurity, and I think this is the biggest challenge right now.
That's interesting. And you mentioned earlier as well about seed strapping being the new kind of way to go. Maybe you don't necessarily need to go Series A, Series B. If you were starting again now, how would you go about getting money? Would you go bootstrap for a little bit and then look for money? Would you come up with the idea and pitch and go straight to the seed? What would be your process you would follow?
Depends. Unfortunately, depends as always. So I think depends on two things. First, what are you going to build? So for some models, I think bootstrapping is not the right way. You need a venture capital. And the second thing is like, how do you like to structure your own life? Because building a VC case with investors in the back is something very, very different to building a company bootstrap. Both is hard, but it's different. Yeah. So I think you need to have very clear decisions on both these dimensions. So do you really want to build a VC case, and is there a big enough market, enough time to do it? And then I would be open for both. Yeah, if I find a cool model with a great opportunity, and I would not have two kids, and I'm in my 40s now, I would probably go the VC road down the road. Yeah. In my personal situation, I would probably rather go for bootstrapping something, maybe get a couple of cool angels in which bring value besides the money, and then becoming profitable and grow as fast as I can from there on. Because I also like to be not third-party steered. I want to do my own decisions. So it really depends on your life situation and what you like to do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Again, it comes down to you as an individual, which is another thing that's come out of this, which is really good. So looking ahead then, what's next for you, and what's next for ARRtist?
I think an ARRtist is on the 9th of October, Joe. So right now, crunch time is starting. It's like 6-7 weeks. So preparations are going on. Yeah, we're really looking forward to see so many cool founders and C-levels and VPs in Berlin. We have 30 side events there. So I think there will be the focus over the next weeks, because it's a lot of detail work if you do event, to be very honest. And then, as every year after Summit, we will sit together and think what we are going to do for the next one. For myself, I'm really operationally into our outbound cold calling as a service business. We founded it 3 years ago already and sold it after 18 months to a PE. And I think calling is one of the shifts we will see, because written channels get more and more saturated. So I'm really I'm ambitious on that. AI SDRs, we will see, but calling will be a strong channel. And then, as mentioned, we are right now designing kind of a small venture studio where we spin off ideas on a more frequent basis. The Geo agency is one thing I mentioned. We are already working on 2 other ones where we always try to found cool co-founders. We give our expertise and then really boot or seed strap like cool business models which are close to the SaaS market. Super fun. I'm really into it. So this is where I spend 80% of my time besides ARRtist, and I'm looking forward to the next months. It's really cool, a very cool period.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And where can people connect with you and follow you?
LinkedIn, I think, is the best way. Always happy to receive any message, any feedback for the podcast, any questions. Just drop me a line. I'm usually trying to answer every message I get, if it's really curated and personalized and not a random thing. So yeah, LinkedIn would be a great way.
Awesome, and I'll put a link to your LinkedIn in the description, along with the ARRtist links, and any other business links as well. And yeah, I just want to say it's been a blast having you on today, Julius. That has been loads of value here for founders, SaaS community, and yeah, just massive thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for the invite. I highly appreciate it, Joe. It was great energy in the talk. So continue what you're doing. I really like it and follow you. So see you next time, I'd say.
See you next time. Bye, Julius.
See you next time. Bye.